everybody.
Hi, friends. Well, from beautiful, if a little too hot, Salt Lake City, Utah,
It's Thank God I'm Atheist.
the podcast.
I'm Frank Feldman.
And filling in for Dan Beecher, I'm Dan Beecher.
Coming up on the show today, Dan. You know, Christians they get stuck in their ways. I would say they don't they are stuck in their ways.
They're stuck. They're permanently stuck.
And one of the ways that they are stuck is has to do with their attitudes about what to do with the human body after somebody passes away.
About death.
Death and human burial. They like burying and anything
They
else.
like whatever the thing is that they like. The
That's
religious
true.
folks,
Yeah.
it's so stupid.
So we're going to have a nice little conversation about sort of the situation with,
And if by the way we'll talk about it at the end of the show too. But just a quick plug: if you are interested in in that topic, you can come hang out with us at the Conference on Death, Grief, and Belief. That's happening July 15th through the 17th in Portland. There's still time. There's still tickets. Get your act together and get out and hang out with us.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. All right.
But before that, we got shit to talk about. What's
Yeah.
up?
Well, I've got the story, Dan, of a Catholic school in Massachusetts that has irked the local bishop.
Oh no!
Who he's upset that they have been flying pride flags and Black Lives Matter flags at the school, and
Wait a minute. The pride flag, I understand why the bishop is upset about. I can see the irkness there, irking of that.
Yeah.
But the Black Lives Matter flag, I'm not seeing it yet.
Well,
I'm sure you'll get to it.
Totally. Yeah. Like he has a reason and it's not dumb, his reason at all.
No, they never are.
Ill-informed or any of those things. No. So yeah, he warned the school. It's called the Nativity School, I believe. And he said that these flags represent movements and support movements that are inconsistent with Catholic teaching. He ordered the flags taken down and that they could continue to call themselves a Catholic school if they did. Well, they didn't pay any attention to him, or at least they didn't succumb to his pressure. And they're like, no, this school serves a diverse community. And this is actually the students who are asking for us to do this. And we support these communities. So no, the flags stay.
Nice.
He's proven good on his word. He's ordered them he says that they can no longer identify as Catholic.
Oh my God.
They're no longer a Catholic school. They can't.
You are tolerating way too many people.
You're too nice to be Catholic.
You are supporting too many human beings. You can't be Catholic
without
anymore.
Discrimination. Yes, I know. And he said that they cannot celebrate mass, sacraments, or sacramentals, whatever that is. And they can no longer be listed in the diocesan directory. God, I hate some of these words.
Diocesan.
Diocesan? Is that what it is?
Something
The
like that.
diocesan directory. And they can no longer fundraise with diocesan institutions. I hope that's the right pronunciation. You didn't just make me sound like a ding dong. There's also a bishop currently serving on the school's board of trustees who must be removed.
Wow.
And he's leaving no stone unturned in sort of the school's forced ending of it being a Catholic school, which is just so absurd, right? It's this school that's serving the Catholic community. Although we know with Catholic schools, the sort of the modern Catholic school, that a lot of people who aren't Catholic send their kids there.
Yeah.
Because it's probably not as expensive as the posh private schools in their community if they have them. Sometimes it is probably the only private, school in the community or alternative to the public schools.
And they often have quite a good education.
And they get it.
Catholics.
Yeah. It's, I mean, the ones here locally are known as like, being really good schools here in Salt Lake.
Other than that whole Jesus bit.
Except for the Jesus bit, which this Catholic bishop has just solved that problem for them, right? What's interesting here is the Nativity School is independently funded and does not receive money from the diocese. So his authority,
which is why they were able to say fuck off when the bishop was like, hey, take down the flags.
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly.
That's amazing to me.
Yeah. But also his authority here is strictly sort of a trademark protection level of authority, right? Like it's like, you can't use our word anymore.
Yeah.
You're not Catholic TM, right? Otherwise, the school's like, nothing's going to change about how we operate. We're just, okay, fine. They're going to appeal to higher authorities at the Catholic Church to overturn this, because I guess they would like to be able to call themselves Catholic.
Well, I'm sure that they are. Yeah.
I think you could also get around this. You could say that you're Catholic aligned values or Catholic aligned whatever. Right. But actually, in reality, they should just be happy to have been set free, because they clearly don't espouse fully Catholic views.
Right. They reject certain Catholic values.
Yeah.
They do it like the whole point of this is that they already reject these Catholic values.
Yeah. So why hold on to it? Why care? Except for maybe sort of from the marketing perspective, who they're able to reach. Yeah. But you were worried about the Black Lives Matter flag. I would be remiss if we didn't address the bishop's concerns here. He said that while the church, quote, stands unequivocally behind the phrase Black Lives Matter and strong.
Wait, that's a bad start. And when you say it's unequivocal, and then you there's equivocate? A but, I feel like you've got an issue.
He says, so unequivocally behind the phrase Black Lives Matter and strongly affirms that all lives matter. The BLM movement co-opted the phrase and promotes a platform that directly contradicts Catholic social teaching on the importance and role of the nuclear family and seeks to disrupt the family structure in clear opposition to the teachings of the Catholic Church. I don't know
how the fuck does Black Lives Matter? What?
I have no idea what he could possibly be going on about.
Did he accidentally skip a groove in the record player and he was onto the pride flag?
Nope, he'd already addressed the pride flag stuff.
Oh my God.
Because that represents support of gay marriage and actively living a LGBTQ plus lifestyle. He says the flying of these flags in front of a Catholic school sends a mixed, confusing, and scandalous message to the public about the church's stance on these important moral and social issues.
Oh my God.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Look,
what a ding dong.
We believe that Black Lives Matter. Just not, though. Shut up. Stop it.
Well, he's clearly gotten into some really good misinformation about Black Lives Matter.
Well, this is the problem. The problem is that when he's probably a Tucker Carlson acolyte. He's a listener to all of the right-wing bullshit media. And the problem is that all of their arguments sound good in their echo chamber.
Yeah.
But when they trot them out into the light of actual day and like real humans hear them, they don't actually know what they're saying.
Yeah.
And then they embarrass themselves. Well, there you go. I hope the school is no longer Catholic. I hope that they have freed themselves.
Yeah, congratulations is actually the correct thing here. So.
Yeah. Might need to change the name.
That can be the Nativity School. I mean, it smacks a little of Jesus, but like...
Well, except that nativity, the root word nativity just means birth, relating to birth. So maybe it's they'll pivot to a school for pregnant teenagers or something. All right. Well, I'm going to take us to California, where some we have this pandemic still happening. I don't know if people know about it. It kind of flew under the radar, this whole COVID thing.
Yeah.
How are you feeling, by the way?
Oh,
I'm sure
about 99%.
That's good. I'm sure our listeners missed you as you convalesced last week.
I missed them too.
Yeah. Anyway, COVID's still a thing. And in California, they tried to pass a bunch of laws. They tried to make sure that, everybody that had to go to work got vaccinated, which is a smart thing to do.
Prudent.
So like their whole police force had to be vaccinated, except of course that in this country, if you have ding dong beliefs, if you have sincerely held idiot beliefs, then you can get out of it. So obviously, if you had a medical reason why you couldn't get the vaccination, that was acceptable. But also, if you just whined that Jesus doesn't like vaccinations, they'll let you out of it there too. But the measure that they then took was you have to be regularly tested. And that was just obviously to keep everyone else safe. The issue is that now a bunch of cops in San Diego are claiming that getting tested is a violation of their Christian beliefs.
I didn't know there was a prohibition against nasal penetration in Christianity. So that
feels
too,
a little gay.
That orifice as well is off the. Okay, fine, all right.
Just feels kind of queer, is all. I don't trust it.
I will not be penetrated in any way.
You may not.
My body is sound.
What they are claiming, and it is obviously trumped up bullshit. It is obviously nonsense, but they got to come up with an excuse. What they are claiming is that they don't like the fact that the swabs contain, and they don't, ethylene oxide.
What?
The swabs don't contain this. It is just a gas that's used to sterilize the swabs before they're packaged. It's not there. It's not present on the swabs. It's just they are, exposed to this gas so that they are sterile. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
But these ding dongs, they're just trying to get out of being tested. That's all it is. It is just an excuse.
Yeah, they're just grasping for anything at this point.
Yeah. So now they have to fill out these forms and on many of them, the exact same verbiage was used, and it had to do with things like, I trust in God's perfect design of my body. Now, I've seen some cop bodies before, and I'm not trying to shame nobody, but perfection's not the word I would use. I'm just saying, no, God did not design your body perfectly.
And that goes for everyone.
That's for literally
all
every human.
Yeah.
If you are vulnerable to a virus, your body is not perfect. Yeah. God did not design your body perfectly.
Yeah.
So shut up about that. It's all just so disingenuous. That's what I hate about it, is that it's so clearly bullshit. It's so obviously bullshit, but the state can't call bullshit on it. They have to be like, okay, motherfuckers, I guess you don't have to get tested. There are spit tests. Yeah. Make them do spit tests.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just
that's exactly right. Is let them go through all these different contortions, to avoid it. Which, why, of all the things to avoid, right? Okay, I highly disagree, but a vaccine it's delivered with a needle. And that can be scary, right?
Yeah.
I can see somebody objecting to that, not wanting to get a shot. It's putting something into your body that they've heard all this stuff about, what it could possibly be or do or whatnot. And they're ding-dongs, so they don't want it, right?
Right.
But literally a cotton swab or whatever being shoved up your nose, and not even that far anymore, right? They're just going around your nostril a little bit, right? A half inch up. That's not very far. And what? It has to be in your nose for 15 seconds or whatever now.
Yeah.
if you're doing a home test. I know because I've done a few of these tests recently.
Yeah.
And so like, that's just, it's so dumb. Like, why not be tested? Why not know? Right. Like
Right.
For anything, like you should be concerned. Like, I think a takeaway for me from the pandemic, and I hope it's one for everyone, is that like, if you've got a cold, if you got the flu or whatever, like stay home from work, right? Put a mask on if you're going to the store. It's just about being a good human being, right? Like
citizen.
Hopefully these are things that are sinking in, but they're clearly not, right? Like these assholes don't even want to know if they're sick.
No, they want to pretend like none of this ever happened.
Yeah,
and go back to exactly how they were before and learn nothing. And yeah.
Well, all right, that's great. Well, here's some fun new information coming from Gallup. That's the polling organization.
Yeah.
They just finished up their values and beliefs poll that they do periodically to see, to measure Americans' belief or not belief in God and some attitudes about all of that. Well, we are at a new time low for belief in God. That I'm sure this will come as no surprise to anybody.
You mean the trend line continues?
The trend line continues. We know this because we talk about it a lot on the show, but it's down to 81% of Americans who believe in God. This is down 6 percentage points from 2017, which is the last time they asked this question. And when they started asking this question in 1944, let me pull it up real quick. It was in obviously the high 90s. It was in the very high 90s. It was 94% of Americans in 1944. So they believe in God. It actually dipped. In 1947, it went down to 94%. I know that might have had to do with a lot of people having seen some atrocities in the world, and becoming disillusioned. But then it goes up to 98% in 1953, and basically stays there until the late 60s. 98% of Americans saying they believe in God, and then starts a really gradual drop off to when they started asking the question again in 2011, where they have 92% of Americans saying that they believe in God. They didn't ask the question apparently between those 2 points. So that is a long span, but you can only assume that it was just a gradual drop off, or that's all we can do is assume that it was a gradual drop off. But then it dips down to 89% in 2004. I'm sorry, 86%. And then it goes up to 89% in 2016. And then starts its drop again through the Trump years, which, I mean, come on. If anything has exposed sort of the unholy alliance of religion and the hypocrisy of the religious in America, it was definitely the Trump years. And we're now down to this 81%. Which is, I think, a pretty remarkable number. Just knowing America, having grown up here.
It's funny because you said that it was what, a 6% drop.
Yeah,
from the last time they did it, which doesn't sound like a lot, but if 6% of Americans
over basically
have decided, that's
period.
Like 20 million people.
Yeah,
or something.
It's a lot of people who are coming to terms with, the universe as it is. And and the numbers, they obviously provide quite the little breakdown. Things that will not surprise you based on party affiliation. We're looking at numbers from 2017 to 2022. So this is a 5-year period. Party identification, Republicans, 95% dropped down to 92%. That it went down. That's good, but still numbers that are kind of crazy. Democrats, 84% dropped down to 72% of Democrats saying they believe in God. I think that's pretty remarkable when you think about, well, first of all, the party differences in America are stark and will only continue to become more stark if the Democrats continue to drop at that rate versus the very slow rate the Republicans seem to be dropping. Regions, the South and the Midwest both dropped at the highest rates compared to the rest of the country. The South went from 93% to 86%. That's a 7-point drop. And here, this one is absolutely crazy to me. Place of residence, city, suburban, town/rural are the three places of residence. City residents dropped from 86% to 82%. Not a huge drop. Suburbanites dropped from 86% to 80%. So they're dropping more quickly. Town and rural, 89% dropped to 82%. So city residents and rural folk are at the same level of belief at 82%.
Interesting.
Which completely blows my mind. And then they also have some numbers on belief in God by subgroup, meaning they look at religious service attendance, party identification, ideological identification. They break it down that way. Where was the interesting number here? Well, it's the young folk, I think, is the main takeaway from this breakdown. 18
he said, shocking all of us.
18 to 29-year-olds. So these are the 4 ways that you could rate yourself. You believe that God hears prayers and intervenes, that God hears prayers only, that God does neither, or you do not believe in God. And 18 to 29-year-olds, 30% believe that God hears prayers and intervenes, hears prayers only, 29%, does neither, 9%, and does not believe in God, 32%, which is pretty good. Our age group, we're at like 17% does not believe in God. And the 50 to 64-year-olds are 9% don't believe in God. So,
all right.
And then the oldies jump up to 12%. So there's something going on there.
Love it. Yeah. All right. Well, there you go. We continue to wise up a little bit.
Yeah, it's not happening quickly enough. It may not happen in time to preserve our democracy, but
or our species.
There's that too, I guess.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. Well, speaking of our dwindling democracy and idiot species, I'm going to take us to Florida. South Florida, specifically, where a congregation of a Jewish congregation called Lador Vador. I'm sure
that's
I said
adorable,
that isn't it? They are suing the state because of a new anti-abortion law signed by Ding Dong Governor Ron DeSantis.
Okay.
This is a really restrictive abortion law that bans abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy, meaning you don't even know you're pregnant and it's too late.
Well, that's the point.
So, this congregation, this Jewish congregation, is suing, and what they have to say about it, I think, is really interesting. And I think that this may be. I don't know. I don't hold out any hope because really, as we've learned, religious freedom in this country means Christians get to do what they want and everybody else has to just shut up. But I like the point that they make. The lawsuit says this: for Jews, all life is precious, and thus the decision to bring new life into the world is not taken lightly or determined by state fiat. In Jewish law, abortion is required if necessary to protect the health, mental, or physical well-being of the woman, or for many other reasons not permitted under the act, meaning the new law.
Right.
I think that's exactly right. Like, yeah, bringing a new life into this world is a decision not to be taken lightly.
Yeah.
And should therefore be very much protected.
Yeah.
If a pregnant person doesn't want to be a parent, and also doesn't think that being pregnant will be good for their mental or physical well-being,
right?
They need to have the medical options that are available.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I don't hold out a lot of hope that this will be a successful lawsuit.
Yeah.
Especially with the current Supreme Court that we have, the howler monkeys that we have on the Supreme Court, as the opening arguments guys will say.
Yeah. It seems to me, though, that this stands a better chance than the Satanic, and God bless them, the Satanic Temple.
Yeah.
But it stands a better chance than Satanic Temple.
Agreed.
Because it's coming from an established religious tradition that has thousands of years of history.
Nobody would dismiss Jews as being like just a parody religion,
exactly,
or a fake religion, or whatever.
So the grappling with this for a court is going to have to happen on a much different grounds. It can't just easily be dismissed. So
that's right.
So that's awesome. That's amazing and well done. Well, I want to take us to an absolutely horrible incident.
Good.
Yeah. I mean, of course, right. That took place in the Bay Area, the San Francisco Bay Area in California, lest, you don't know what the Bay Area is. Over in the East Bay, a drag queen by the name of Panda Dulce, I believe that's how you say it. Is it Dulce, Dulce? Who is a name I've recognized. She's participated a lot in the drag queen story hour at her local library. And I think we've talked about her specifically before when the drag queen story hour has come up. Unfortunately, this is one of the worst incidents that has ever come up to my knowledge about the drag queen story hour. A group of Proud Boys decided that they were going to go and attend the drag queen story hour. And it wasn't just to hear the stories, sadly.
They don't want to hear a nice children's book reading.
Apparently they filed in right as it was starting. Panda Dulce was still singing her welcome song. Hello, children. Hello, grown-ups. Hello, everyone. It's nice to see you here, apparently, are some of the lyrics.
Obviously corrupt and disgusting lyrics.
The group of men entered the library and filed into the back, sat down. And actually, before we proceed, I just want to issue a trigger warning and just say that some of I feel it's important to actually say some of the words, and it is they're not nice and they're not appropriate.
So if you're not ready for that, that's
skip
fine.
ahead a little bit.
Just skip ahead a little bit.
Anyway, they started yelling at Dulce. So who brought the tranny is one of the things they said. They were referring to her as it and a pedophile, calling her a pedophile. Dulce, correctly fearing violence, hid in the back office with a security guard. She says, I didn't know if they were armed. I was only acutely aware of the fact that neither myself nor any of the librarians were. And she pointed out in an Instagram post that the men totally freaked out the kids. Yeah, no kidding. Right.
Yeah, right.
They got right in our faces. They jeered. They attempted to escalate to violence. The Alameda County Sheriff's Office was called to the scene. By the time they got there, a number of the men had already dispersed. No arrests were made at the time. They felt like they were responding to a disturbance, and that, quote, at the time, there was no reason to do an arrest.
Oh my God.
It wasn't till later that we discovered that it was targeted hate speech and that it was done by design and organization. It was. They discovered it. They were told clearly.
Yeah.
Once it was explained to them.
Right.
And they say that they'll follow up with this change in events and the dynamics of the disturbance. So they are looking at it as a hate crime, and
which it is.
Which it clearly is. And so, and usually the way the hate crime statutes work is it just sort of takes the possible punishment or penalty up a level, right? Yeah. So this is a public, it probably would have been charged clearly as a public disturbance.
Or harassment or something.
Or like harassment, something along those lines. It will be escalated thanks to the hate crimes statutes.
I wanted to circle back to something. The slurs and epithets that they were throwing, mm-hmm. I want to make sure that people are aware that there is a right-wing thing that's happening now where they are purposefully miscategorizing drag queens as trans
Mm.
and lumping them in together, and then also lumping in pedophilia
Yeah.
to all of that.
And one of the men was actually wearing a shirt that said, "Kill your local pedophile," and it had an image of a gun. The words were printed over the top of a gun.
It's very important that we, as people who aren't assholes,
Mm-hmm.
when we go out into the world, if you're having a conversation with someone and you hear them lumping in drag queens, trans people, like all of these people deserve respect and good treatment.
Yeah.
But don't let people make them into one category for one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then absolutely do not let them don't get away with saying anything about pedophiles or anything like that.
Yeah. It's terrifying, right? That first of all, the whole thing's fucking terrifying, right? Like there wasn't a person there that wasn't traumatized by this event.
Right.
Because like they have the article has pictures of the men. These were serious looking dudes, right?
Yeah.
They were, a couple of them were kind of scary looking. And so, yeah, there's nobody there that didn't feel highly threatened. These poor kids, right? Like at least Panda Dulce is an adult, and but that doesn't make it any easier, obviously. Well, it makes it in one way maybe a little easier. And she's had time to build up some, like she knows, right, some of the challenges that are out in the world.
She's already brave.
Yeah.
Like we know that this is a brave person who's going out and knowingly engaging in something,
right?
Like
where they're and knows
she
that
knew
they're
this was a possibility.
Yeah. The kids, however, I can't even imagine. Could you imagine being a kid in that room? You're having a good time. There's a performer who's there who's going to be, reading you a story. It's fun. Maybe you've been before, and it's just a delight, right? Yeah. I'm sure she's great with these kids because she keeps doing it, and kids keep coming back, right? And how these assholes cannot possibly have thought ahead as to and have an ounce of human dignity, kindness, concern for other people, right?
For the children.
Concern for children, right? To barge in there and to do that, like I don't even know how to process it. It's really terribly ugly, awful shit. The Proud Boys are legitimately scary. And I'm, I can't even believe it. And the whole fucking pedophile thing.
Well, and I accidentally did my stories in the wrong order. So we're going to close out with something just as scary. Sorry, everybody. I usually try to close out with something fun and light.
Yeah.
But no, we're just going to keep up with the scary thing. By now, most of our listeners, probably a lot of you, have already heard about the incident in northern Idaho, where a literal truckload, like a U-Haul truckload of 31 white supremacists were prevented. But they were planning on going and disrupting, and I'm guessing that's a light word for what they were planning on doing, a gay pride festivity, some sort of fun up in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. They were, and these were men who had come from a whole bunch of neighboring states, and including our fair Utah.
Yeah.
We know that some of them were LDS, were Mormons, and they were literally going to go and probably start violence.
Yeah.
At a very peaceful gay event.
Yeah.
I wanted to bring it. I read an interesting article from Religion News Service. Do you remember Matt Shea, who was a Washington State lawmaker, but like a right-wing nutball who
he wanted to start his own state or something like that, right? Is
that
guy?
And yeah. I think that's him. And he's also a pastor for a crazy ministry. So as soon as the news came out about this group of men who had been stopped from committing violence against gay people. Shay came out and said that it was Antifa that were doing it, and that he was glad that the Antifa ambush was thwarted.
When are these assholes going to stop being such chicken shit? Because everybody on their side already supports them. And like, seriously, who do you think actually believes that it's Antifa? You're not fooling us. Maybe you're fooling some of your idiots.
Yeah.
But, like,
and that's the thing, is that they try to just confuse the matter. They just give people anything, plausible or not, so that they can not believe that their own people are being the most horrible people. And what they've done is primed their side to believe that everything is a false flag operation that's actually a trick by the other side, and they're the ones that are orchestrating everything and then making them look bad, which is ironic because they actually do the opposite. They actually do that on their side. Anyway, turns out 2 of the men arrested are associated with Matt Shay's church.
Oh boy.
He knew full well that it wasn't Antifa, and he knew 2 of the guys arrested. So,
oh my God.
It's a bunch of bullshit, but yeah, things are getting spicy.
Yeah.
Up in this country. It is not safe.
Yeah. Well, and I just want to point out the lengths that these guys will go to. Like, having that many people in the back of a U-Haul is a clear violation of the rental contract.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
they're not getting their deposit back.
Like, this is the lengths they will go to. So
they literally turn themselves into the Mexican immigrants that they hate so much.
Like, seriously, like, oh my God. Like, when I read that they had loaded a bunch of people up in the back of a box truck like that, like, they were just planning on throwing open that door. And can you imagine 30 some odd people just barging out into a pride festival?
Angry young men who got themselves worked up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There would have been
deaths. There would have been murder.
It probably, right?
Almost certainly. I cannot imagine that scenario ending in anything other than a horrible outcome.
Yeah, I know.
So there you go. Well, if you have some insight into this or any of the stories we've talked about today, please feel free to write to us, podcast@thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. The telephone number is 424-666-8442. Stick around. There is more show coming right up.
So, Frank.
Yeah?
We have heard the words of the prophets on our show.
Many times. Many times. And they're always just the most insightful.
They're the strongest thinkers of our times. I think that's clear. And this one, we've heard this guy's voice before. This is Johnny Enlow talking to Canned Ham Steve Schultz. And he's... what I like about this clip is that he's going through his prophetic process with us. This will involve talking about the prophetic significance of Mo Donegal. I guess that's the name of the horse. I'm a little confused. I don't follow horse racing.
Yeah, that's a bad horse name. I don't like that name. I can think of 1,000 better names for a horse.
Yeah. So anyway, this horse won the Belmont Stakes. Mo Donegal, if it's a horse, I don't know. Maybe it's the jockey. I don't. Anyway, whatever. Mo Donegal was the winner of the Belmont Stakes horse race, and it is significant. And we're about to learn why.
Oh, okay.
Mo was named after momentum, but it is also a short for Moses, and it is also MO is the state of Missouri, when you write out, it's MO in Missouri is the show me state. So there's a little bit of Moses, there's a little bit of momentum, and a little bit time to show me that goes with it. The the initials of Missouri. Oh. Okay, so now let's break down this name Donegal. It's Donegal. So it's Mo Don Egal. And remember, we're decoding prophetically. This happens all the time. People do it naturally with numbers and names. And so Don, first three letters, Don. Now, who's Don?
Donald Trump.
So there's Donald Trump. Now, if you want to say Don also means gift from God, it also means king, and it's some way the Lord, fine.
All of the above. All of the above. Yeah.
We already have pointed out that his name is associated with this region and with the walls of Donegal already, Trump. So it's not just we're inserting that foolishly. Egal, E-G-A-L, it's not just short for egalitarian, but it actually has a definition on its own, still meaning the same thing. Egal means equal. And egalitarian, again, it's also the shortened form of egalitarian, means based on the idea that people, remember, we the people, that people are equally important and should have the same rights and opportunities. Another definition, all humans are equal in fundamental worth. So we see this thing of Dawn contending for we the people so that our rights and our freedom exist the way they're supposed to.
Awesome.
I mean,
it makes perfect sense.
As Uncle Mark from How to Heretic would say, all that makes is sense. It's it is amazing to me that people can listen to that. He's showing his work. I like that he's showing his work. I just think it's hilarious that someone would listen to that and go, oh yeah, all that makes sense.
Well, let me see what other words are in there.
Yeah, exactly. Donegal has Doan, D-O-N-E in it. And Doan must mean something.
Well, you have a done gal. The woman is finished.
Which she's, obviously God is trying to tell us that that women need to stay out of ministry. So they're done.
It's clear to me. I'm surprised he didn't see that, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's
really shocking.
We should send that to him. Say, this is something else we saw.
You've missed something, prophet man. Oh, man alive. Well, there you go.
God, you just gotta, who sits there and is like paying attention and sees proof, sees evidence, right? In his words. Like, oh my God. It's
people are funny.
Anything.
They do. I saw a TikTok of a guy doing some prophecy where it was basically, there was video of a murmuration of birds.
Oh.
And at one point, one part of it did look very much like a human face.
Oh.
Not a recognizable human face, but just sort of, we're pattern seeking animals and we'll see a human face in pretty much anything.
Absolutely.
So there it is. Looks a lot like a human face. Pretty interesting. This guy goes off on how that's Vladimir Putin for sure. It's Vladimir Putin. And why are we getting Vladimir Putin? Well, look at the billboard that they're flying in front of.
Oh my God.
Which is a McDonald's billboard, and it has the word treats. Well, what treats are we going to get from Vladimir Putin? Well, look at this ice cream on the billboard. Doesn't that look a little bit like a nuclear explosion? It does to me. No, it did not at all look like that. But
that's the treat we're going to get is a nuclear explosion?
Yeah, because that's the way that the way that the Lord talks to us. He gives us an image of a face, and then we figure out that it's Putin, and then the Lord says, a nuclear explosion, that's a treat. That's how thus saith the Lord.
So what could possibly be different in these people's minds, right? From them doing this, between them doing this and somebody with a bunch of chicken bones, right?
Yeah.
Who's like shakes them up and throws them on the ground and then reads the pattern, right?
Yeah.
Or something else they would
A
dismiss
tarot
as,
reader.
Yeah, like it's all the exact same thing. But they would say the one is demonic and satanic or whatever, and theirs is obviously good because they're,
because they're using the word Jesus at the end.
Yeah, like
obviously.
But then, like, I think that they live in a really magical world.
It's fascinating.
It's terrifying.
Yeah,
because anything goes.
All right. So last week, Kate and I talked about how after the ruling, the Samuel Alito's ruling that that got leaked from the U.S. Supreme Court about Roe v. Wade being overturned, there was an uptick in interest in witchcraft. And we had a lot.
Okay,
a bunch of stuff to say about that. A listener calling themselves Queerly Atheist wrote in to say, "Hi, after listening to the newest episode of Talk Heathen," that's another podcast, I dove straight into TGIA's newest episode. Talk Heathen just had a caller talking about TikTok and the growth of the witch community in correlation with the Roe v. Wade issue. The caller mentioned something, some of these people on Witch Talk are giving not so great advice on inducing abortions, i.e. sticking certain herbs inside yourself.
Oh.
The caller stated a couple of people followed this advice, which led to the death of one person and the hospitalization of another.
Oh, Jesus.
I just found it interesting to immediately go to TGIA, and one of the first things talked about is the correlation of witches and Roe v. Wade. It's just so fucking terrifying to know I'm in a state where safe termination of pregnancy is being ripped from people with uteruses. Please, please, please do research before trying anything.
Yeah.
There's a lot of misinformation, and I'm sure a lot of it is unintentional and not out of malice. But we are just seeing the beginning of what horrible outcomes take place when you strip access to safe health care.
Yeah. We're going to enter a pretty ugly period of time.
And there are a lot of, as this person points out, a lot of well-meaning people who are going to be providing what they think is a very safe way of inducing an abortion, and it may not be.
Yeah.
And just because they are on your side of an issue doesn't mean that their advice is good. So be incredibly careful. There are medically proven things, and look, the state of our medicine is not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but at very least, if it is under the jurisdiction of the FDA and, or whatever your country's medical authorities are, at very least then, adverse effects have to be reported. They are compiled with the data. We know what the risks are. We know what the benefits are.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more than anything that doesn't have that data, that isn't scientifically studied, so that all the people have to report are the successes. They don't report the negative outcomes, and it gets a lot spookier.
Yeah,
literally
spookier.
They love
witches.
it spooky.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think we had a caller, did we not?
We did. We do. This is a listener who is alerting us to a story. So let's just have a listen.
Okay.
Hey guys, hope you're doing well. This is Matt calling from Austin, Texas. I'm a big fan of the podcast. Thanks for doing the show. Quick message here. I don't know if you guys are aware of an evangelical camp in Missouri called Kanakuk Camps. It's with a K, Kanakuk. It's the largest evangelical summer camp in the country. It's been around for decades. What's also been around for decades is the sex abuse at Kanakuk Camp of campers. Former staffers, numerous, are now serving prison terms for sex abuse. A lot of information coming out even daily about how pervasive the problem's been. What's appalling, if that's not appalling enough, is that the leadership that has been in place over time has been giving air cover to these sex offenders in the interest of protecting the Kanakuk brand. They've been covering up this. And what's even more sickening is these guys are still in place, still in leadership at the camp. So at any rate, it's not really getting enough exposure nationally. And so just wanted you guys to be aware that the largest evangelical summer camp in the country has been engaged in covering up sex abuse for a long, long time, and still having things happen like having campers apologize to the offenders for making accusations, et cetera, et cetera. So at any rate, just want to make you aware. Hope you're doing well. Keep up the good work, and I'll keep listening. Thanks.
Well, I, for one, am shocked that I shouldn't make light of it.
No,
like, this is,
no.
It's obviously horrific.
Yeah.
But if you, listener, were affected by this or something like it, there is help available. Yeah. Please seek therapy. Please, if you want to seek legal remedies, those may be available also.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is the playbook. This is what they do.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they put kids in harm's way and then protect themselves and not the children.
Yeah. And you know, like you made sort of a joke, or you made, you know, whatever, of it not being shocking, right? And it's just not. It's just not shocking. And that is the truly horrifying part of it, aside from, you know, the actual abuse and everything. But like the fact that we as a population, we as a country, we as a people, like just humanity, like we're just not shocked when we hear anymore about religious folk in positions of power abusing the vulnerable and then covering it up. Like it just is. Yep. Of course that happened. Horrible.
Yeah.
I can't. Yeah. It's hard to wrap your head around that.
Not
like,
okay.
That it is so prevalent.
Yeah. And that this is the playbook that they turn to every single time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right. Do we have some folks to thank?
We do indeed, Dan. We got a bunch. We have, let's see, we have 3 new deacons. We have L. Eliz Baby made me subscribe. Oh, okay. And Bella Via. So thank you to the 3 of you. 3 new deacons. You get to pass the sacrament at Mormon Church.
And have magic powers that are not really determined fully.
And we have a new teacher by the name of Keeley. So thank you very much. All of you get magic powers. It's awesome. Thank you so much for your support of the show. And if you would like to join them,
which you should join them,
you can do so by going to our website, thankgodimatheist.com, and clicking on the support tab. As always, Dan, we have our top donor to thank, our Lord and Savior, Davis.
More show coming up.
Dan.
Yeah.
What do you want done with your body when you die? Do you have wishes?
I do.
Yeah.
I don't think that my wishes are going to come true.
Oh, why?
I have always said that what I would like is to be stuffed, realistically posed, with some like motion detectors in my eyes.
Oh, gross.
And I'll pre-record a bunch of things, but like as people walk past, you know, my voice will come out, you know, put her there, pal. Say, how's the weather out there? That sort of thing. And then anyone who stands to benefit from my legacy after I'm dead, my all of my fabulous wealth after I'm dead, they have to host my stuffed body prominently.
That's what your
in their home or business.
That's the payment. For all the money. That's what they have to do for all the money.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't have any children, so it's not as fun that way. Like I was hoping that like the idea is whoever my beneficiaries are, like they have to call each other at some point and be like, you got to take Dan. He's really freaking out the kids. Somebody please take him. It's your turn.
It's an absolutely awful idea, Dan.
Yeah. Well,
I'm sorry to have to be the one to tell you.
I don't think there's any danger that it'll actually happen. So everyone's safe from stuffed Dan. But you know, barring that, I don't really care what happens to my body.
Okay.
It's not, you know, I won't be in it anymore. So They can like, you know, I would like it, as much of it to be used for scientific advancement as possible.
Yeah.
But also, you know, there are lots of options. And one of the options that I actually really like, and this is the story that sort of got us thinking about this, is composting, which is a thing that
like
is,
this one. Yep.
you know, it's basically they just put a body into a reusable container, and they surround it with wood chips, and you know, get air flowing through it, and it just accelerates the natural processes of decomposition, and in the end, you get soil.
Yeah.
Just, and then you can literally just push up the daisies.
I think it's about as nice of a way of like disposing of a body as you could come up with. Because like, you know, if you're cremating, you're burning the body, right? And then there's like whatever pollution that's caused from that. If you're putting somebody in the ground,
and it's not an insignificant amount of pollution. There is like particulates go into the air. It's not great.
If you want, you know, if you're buried in the ground, like you're actually not really in the ground. You're in like a concrete vault, which is the way we do it in this country, right?
Yeah.
And so
you're in a wooden box in a concrete box.
Yeah. So
it's ridiculous.
Your body will rot in that place as much as it does, whether or not you elected for, you know, being embalmed. And
which, by the way, everyone should know you don't have to do that.
Yeah.
You know, unless the body needs to be preserved for a few weeks while you get, you know, funeral rites in order or whatever.
Yeah.
You can opt out of the embalming just fine.
Or, you know, if you're being put in a glass box to be put on display somewhere.
Right.
Which would be another option for you, Dan. I mean, you could go that way.
Yeah. I mean, I'm pretty beloved, so I assume that many people will want to come and visit me over time. So,
but like, this is just, it just seems nice because the body, you know, just goes back to the dirt. You know?
Yeah. It's us engaging in the cycles of nature like we're meant to do.
Yeah. And but for me, it's not even so much of like a comfort thought, even though I like the idea of it. It's just on an environmental, you know, just the environmental question of like what happens to dead bodies, right? Like this is just nice. It just, there you go, back and literally into the ground and into the soil. So
yeah. But the problem is that the entire conversation around death and you know, the disposal of bodies and whatever is dominated by the religious voices in our country. I assume other countries as well.
Yeah.
And they are you know, dicks about it and also just unreasonable. They get so uptight about anything new. And then after it catches on for a while, then they're like, yeah, that's okay. But the other newer thing's not okay. So, you know, some of them accept cremation when they didn't before. It was burial only.
Yeah.
And it's just so stupid.
It's literally just whatever the prevailing icky feelings are about.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
literally,
does it make you feel icky? Well, then that must be bad. That's not of Jesus. Right.
Well, I'm just going to read this quote from Kathleen Domingo, who is the executive director for the California Catholic Conference. A lady? What are they doing? But she said that this composting process, quote, reduces the human body to simply a disposable commodity.
Oh, God.
What the fuck does burial do?
I mean, are we actually going to be buying human compost from Home Depot? Like, is that what she's saying? Is that what she thinks is going on here? That like,
I don't know what she thinks.
That you as compost isn't being turned over to your loved ones so that they can, like, you know, fertilize a tree with you.
Yeah, she's envisioning entire farms growing their crops out of human. She's screaming Soylent Green is made of people is what she's doing. It's just so stupid. And she's like, this is a method of disposing of livestock, not. So the point is,
God.
They're not following any kind of logic. Like, there's nothing more, quote, disposing of someone than just chucking them in a hole in the ground.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that is literally, you're just throwing them in the garbage and putting a rock on top of it.
Yeah. She's used to that, right?
Yeah,
and that's
so
all
California's trying to pass a law that legalizes this. It's only legal in a few states. It's legal in Washington and I think Colorado, and it's working its way through legalization, I think, in Oregon.
That makes sense. Yeah, but
it is I don't understand why. The only reason it's controversial is because you're right. People get the ickies about it, and they just assume that their ickies are because Jesus said don't do it. That's just so weird. It's just so like they're not thinking through it. They have their initial response. They slap the word Jesus on it. And then that's their position.
Yeah.
And it is their unequivocal, hard and fast position until it's not. So I don't know. I just think when we're talking about death, and this is why actually you and I are going to be speaking at that conference on death and dying, is because it's because the conversation has been dominated by voices who refuse to actually engage their brain. And it's not okay. It's not like they're literally, as you say, California actually literally had to relax their environmental, their pollution standards because so many people died from COVID that the crematoriums were pumping out too much pollution. But they had to do it. They didn't have any other options. There was that or burial, and some people, and those are the only options available.
Yeah, I mean, would anybody even notice if there was more pollution? Like
in California,
I'm surprised that that was a lot of dead people.
Just take your California. Just take your dead people and put them in the forest. They burn every year anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding.
Just to figure something out with that.
Yes, that's actually a great idea because, either wolves get you, or fire.
That's what my dad wanted. I when I asked him, like, how do you want your body to be disposed of? He was like, "Oh, just take me into the mountains and throw me to the wolves."
Okay, not legal, Dad. I like the sentiment. I like where your head is. That's great.
Yeah.
How about being composted?
Yeah, exactly.
It works on a different scale, but you are eaten.
Eventually you might make it to a wolf. Who knows?
I will take your compost and put it in wolf territory.
I will plant berries that will sustain smaller animals that will then be eaten by wolves.
Oh, wow. That's some circle of life, Dan.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what we're really getting at here.
Yeah. We think we're so special and we have to be removed from those things though. Dan.
Yeah. And that's the opposite. We are very much dependent and a part of all of it.
But that actually does go counter to especially the Christian claims about humanity. Right? Like, I mean, I remember being taught as a kid that, we aren't animals. Right. Right. Because we're like animals are one thing, and then there's people, and then there's God. Right.
Yeah.
And it's like we have to be special in our little heads. And religious belief just plays off of that. And this is a perfect example of like we're special. We can't just rot out in the woods. We can't just be turned into compost. That's what animals do. Right? Yeah. We're people. And so we get to be buried in concrete boxes, or, as has become fashionable, and it's okay, I guess, you can be cremated.
Right.
Right. But how slowly the acceptance of cremation has come around. I was shocked, Dan, when my parents told me that they're being cremated.
Yeah.
I think
good for them.
I think it was dollars and cents. I think they looked at traditional burial versus cremation, and they wanted to pay for everything up front. And they're like, well, yeah, I like the price tag on that. Jesus agrees. The lower price one, that's the better one.
Yeah, exactly. That's Mormon thinking right there. That's some solid Mormon thinking. What's the bottom line here?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, tell us about your plans for your death.
Yeah.
I want to hear about them. You can write into us, podcast at thankgodimatheist.com.
Or call and leave us a voicemail message. We'd love to play it on the show. The telephone number is 424-666-8442.
Yeah. Hey, go to the Facebook page, facebook.com/TGIAtheist, and click the like button.
And if you'd like to join one of our members-only lounges, you can do so. Just go to our website, thankgodimatheist.com/members only.
Yeah. Thanks so much to the Red Rock Hot Club for the use of their fine music.
And thanks to Gordon Johnston for the use of his music.
And thanks to all of y'all for tuning in. We sure do appreciate you.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.